Thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. Hoidu LaHashem ki hitoi, ki li'olam chazdoi. Hoidu LaHashem ki hitoi, ki li'olam chazdoi.
Hoidu LaHashem ki hitoi, ki li'olam chazdoi. Hoidu LaHashem ki hitoi, ki li'olam chazdoi.
Hashem, Hamoidem Ves Hashem, Hamoidem Hashem, Gili Yoilam Yoilam Vazdoi. All this is over. Hamoidem Ves Hashem, Hamoidem Ves Hashem, Hamoidem Hashem, Gili Yoilam Yoilam Vazdoi. La 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 la. Thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. Hoidu LaHashem.
In 1967, a few months after our move to Merrick, my dad attended Minyan at Ohav and was blown away by the young, dynamic rabbi and warm, friendly congregants. He came home and said to my mom, "Belle, we are going for another round of Orthodox."
So we had recently moved into Merrick, and it was in July, and we were looking to join a synagogue. But I heard that they were having a men's club meeting on Sunday. So when I came home, I said, "Ronnie, why don't you go and see, if you like it or whatever." So he went. And when he came in, there were a group of men who were looking at plans. For obviously we had a house, so it was a building that they were going to start building. And they were pointing at doors and saying there were windows, and they were pointing at bathrooms, saying there were classrooms. And he finally said, "Look, I don't belong here, as a member, but I am an engineer, so if you need help." He comes home 2 hours later with these two things under his arms, and I said, "What are those?" I don't know what they were, but he said, "Well, those are plans for the synagogue, the new synagogue." I think we joined because I'm all of a sudden the chairman of the building committee.
This shul, as is always the case, looks for new members, and Rabbi Wohlberg in those days was holding coffee clutches. And so Hilda dragged me to a coffee clutch, and at that meeting, the rabbi made a nice talk to encourage, maybe 6 couples were there, and he spoke about why it was important to join a synagogue. And finally the rabbi said, "Then how could you expect any Jewish practice to rub off on your children if you didn't do it? It wouldn't come to them by osmosis through you from their grandparents." And that's when I realized that I had to make some arrangement to send my children to Hebrew school.
Oise mitzvah achas getano b'simcho Yigagalu loi lasois mitzvah Gedoy lamer ishoino Oise mitzvah achas getano b'simcho Yigagalu mitzvah Gedoy lamer ishoino Oise mitzvah achas getano b'simcho Yigagalu loi Sois mitzvah, gedoyle mer ishoino, Oise mitzvah, achas kitano b'simcho, יגגלו מצווה גדולה מראשונה שכר מצווה מצווה אין לי דבר קצווה ואין מתות המצווה חף מנוח המצווה פרסר אוהל המזה ומסתם אליל המבו שכר מצווה מצווה אין לי דבר קצווה ואין מתות המצווה חף מנוח המצווה ומסתם אליל המבו אוי זה מצווה חס גיטנו בשמחו יגגלו לוי עשויס מצווה גדול למלי שוינה אוי זה מצווה חס גיטנו בשמחו יגגלו מצווה גדול למלי שוינה אוי זה מצווה חס גיטנו בשמחו יגגלו לוי עשויס מצווה גדול למלי שוינה אוי זה מצווה חס גיטנו בשמחו יגגלו מצווה גדול למלי שוינה
I first moved to Merrick in 1976 and joined Ohav that following week.
Soon after Dan and I moved here with our 4 children, we joined Ohav. We were highly recommended by a number of people.
Ohav Sholom in 1976, we were looking for a Hebrew school for our oldest, Richard, and eventually Shari went also.
My wife, Miriam of blessed memory, and I joined Ohav in 1974 with Alan at age 9 and Andrew age 6.
Well, the major reason why we came to Merrick was the fact that there was a large Jewish community here. And in addition to that, there was a very prominent groups of different types of Jews. And we found that the Hebrew school, which was run by Dr. Mel Isaacs, and supervised by, of course, Rabbi Wohlberg, was a very integral part of the synagogue. And as soon as the kids were 5 or 6 years old,
right, ready to go to Hebrew school.
Ready to go to Hebrew school. We joined Ohav and been a member ever since. That's close to 28, 29 years.
We joined the temple as a young family in 1973, and our first memory is celebrating the High Holy Days in a tent in what is now the parking lot, as the building expanded. Our children attended the Hebrew school and were bar mitzvahed under the tutelage of Rabbi Wohlberg. Many years later, we had the joy of celebrating our grandson's Brit at the temple, which, if memory serves, was the first Brit that Rabbi Eben officiated at Ohav Sholom.
Marcel of blessed memory and I joined Ohav in 1975. Karen and Rona celebrated their bat mitzvah together in our sanctuary on June 6, 1982. And I'm so proud to show you this photo.
תודה לך, תודה לך, תודה לך כלי הולך איתך ורק איתך לא יכול בלי תודה לך על חושך ויאללה אורתו תודה לך
As a Ohav Sholom member since the 1875, I have devoted my time to the Hebrew school, its students, and teaching the Zion class, which is the 7th grade, getting them ready for their bas and bar mitzvah, and making them love Judaism and coming to Hebrew school. And as part of the Hebrew school, we started the Merrick Community Hebrew High School, which has been in existence for over 30 years, and we're still thriving, and all the shuls of Merrick and Belmar are involved.
I started by hosting NCSYers for their Shabbatons, and gradually I became involved in setting up kiddushes, and then I came on the board of trustees. I became co-president of Sisterhood with my sister. We started Shalach Manos. We used to go shopping before the days of computers. I was also on the nominating committee, so maybe behind the scenes. I think my most involvement was also hospitality and housing. For years, we housed Balkores, youth leaders, and the Chazan for Yontif. And to this day, I still do the housing when we have guests or whoever comes to Merrick.
When we got to Ohav, it was the very beginning, really, where there was just a group of people, and if one didn't do it, it wasn't getting done. So I was complaining about the programming. So they said, okay, now you're the chairman, you do something. So we put on plays, and in that time we used to have a house, so it wasn't like a building. So we did a nightclub act, and we had, with Rabbi Wohlberg's permission, men dressed as women, and each one took the role of being asked to do something, to be at a committee, and all the excuses that they had, they could because it was Mashal night or whatever. And so we had a very, very successful show. And then we had other things, we had speakers coming, and that's how I got involved. And then from there I went to, another title. And then I was Sisterhood president from 68 to 70. And through the years, it's just, if they need me, I'm here.
I became Sisterhood president, and up to today, I am on the board.
We became very much active, worked on various committees and functions, and even the children got involved at various times. One of the nicest things that occurred was that I would meet with Rabbi Wohlberg. I would meet him in his office once a week, and he would talk to me about the events that were coming up at Ohav and other thoughts that he had. And I would write an article for Merrick Life for some time.
I was chairman of the Mr. and Mrs. Club, the social arm of the synagogue. I remember one time we organized a Chinese auction to raise some money for the synagogue, and we were going to include a Chinese supper. I organized a committee of people to cut and chop the food, and I cooked it in the synagogue kitchen, and we had a supper for 100 people, which was quite a big success.
Well, we organized a group where we went to each other's homes because everybody was anxious to make friends. And it was such a nice thing to do. And we used to meet at different houses and enjoy ourselves. And it was very nice.
We used to be very active in Soviet Jewry and a march on Broadway, on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. And we were able to get together 10 busloads of members of Ohav Sholom together and with their children.
I was just involved, trying to welcome people when they came in, because I had such a wonderful welcome when I started, or my family started. And of course, being on the board when I was the youth director. But we put together a wonderful youth group. It was really the beginning, and we had so many things for our kids to do. And that was a wonderful time of my life as well.
I was involved in the men's club as president with Sam Jaffe, and I was also the treasurer.
And bingo.
Then I volunteered bingo.
Still volunteer.
I still volunteered bingo. Also, we went to marches for Soviet Jewry in New York and in Washington, D.C. And I was a bus leader.
I coached Shama Shabbos Little League, the baseball, and it was open to females as well as males. And my daughter was on the team along with my son. I think both daughters were on the team, yeah. I taught gymnastics. It was, for whoever wanted to, or whomever wanted to participate. Yeah, that was the rage at that time, gymnastics.
We became very involved first with the Ohavim, which had been the Mr. and Mrs. Club. And then I moved on to the Board of Trustees, Vice President, Executive Vice President, and then finally the presidency, where I was very pleased and honored to be representing our wonderful congregation.
After having served as Men's Club President, Vice President Virtual Education, Executive Vice President, and President of OHAV, in my retirement, I had the honor of being Ritual Chairman for 22 years.
My mom was a regular at services and became quite involved with sisterhood. She, Miriam Glass, and Marlene Arbiter became lovingly known as the Kiddush Queens. For years, they also ran the bingo kitchen, which meant me bussing tuna melts and pizza bagels. At 16, I took on my first leadership position at OHAV, serving as youth group president for Cozy. As an adult with my own family, I took on more leadership roles. These included being the initiator and co-coordinator of the Women's Tefillah Group, co-chairing the Ohavim Social Club, serving on OHAV's executive board as corresponding secretary, social vice president, and fundraising vice president, serving as catering chairperson, editor of the OHAV newsletter, being on the Hebrew School Board and on various committees, the OHAV Nursery School Committee, the RJW Institute for Adult Jewish Studies, the Rabbi Search Committee, and currently sitting on the Board of Trustees.
Ohav is special to me because it's our family. It's where we've shared our simchas and our losses. It's good people, warm people, giving people.
I can't find any other place where I could be meeting so many wonderful people. And now, of course, bringing it to the younger ones, who I just totally love.
We have established extraordinary, unique, long-lasting friendships from the day we joined Ohav Sholom. And it has brought me comfort, peace, and sense of belonging, and touches my soul.
I find that Ohav has a very important part of my life. It always was, and I find that it has given me another aspect of Judaism and a great deal of spirituality.
I don't know how other synagogues were, but Ohav Sholom was the type of a synagogue where everybody was friendly. When somebody came in, it didn't matter if they were a guest or if they were a very recent member. They were all, it felt like they belonged. It was sort of more like a family than than it was a synagogue. Everyone felt they belonged to it.
Anything I did with the shul was a favorite moment.
I love Ohav Sholom because one of their major priorities is the Hebrew school and their acceptance of all the different children's views, their ability to allow me to many times go off curriculum, and Rabbi Eben doesn't yell at me most of the time, and his compassion and understanding that the most important thing about Ohav Sholom is their children.
I think my favorite memories are of the times when I've seen the kids greet Les, his class, his students at the time, or kids who've returned for holidays, kids who are adults with their own kids, to see how they greet him and how their relationships have lasted is wonderful to see.
Well, I guess the sermons given by Rabbi Wohlberg and Rabbi Eben, and also encouraged us to go to Israel. So we spent 3 periods there. First, we went a 3-week tour, and then we worked at a moshav, 2 3-week periods.
As teachers, I was a teacher, Brian was my assistant.
Through the years, we have been blessed with 2 great spiritual leaders whose meaningful sermons have contributed to the richness of our Jewish life. Among our favorite memories are our 2 visits to Israel with some wonderful members of the congregation, led by Rabbi and Mimi Wohlberg, to celebrate Israel's 50th and 60th anniversary. We could never have imagined sitting in that tent during the high holidays in 1973, just how fortunate we were to have found Ohav Sholom.
The reason Ohav is so special to us is because of all the wonderful friends that we made and still maintain through all these years. And of course, from the leadership and the friendship and the warmth of Rabbi Wohlberg. And it still has even though we've been out of Merrick for over 20 years, Ohav Sholom still maintains a very warm and special place in my heart.
My favorite memory at Ohav was the bar mitzvah of Alan and Andrew. The boys' favorite memory was playing floor hockey in the basement. Ohav was the center of our family life for nearly half a century.
Well, I first lost my mother, 1976. I actually went for 11 months to say Kaddish, and Dave Zverin showed me how to put on a tefillin, and then I started to lead the services.
After we joined a few years later, Rabbi Wohlberg started a program called the Havara, which were groups of people of the same age. At that time, we were among the younger group.
This is the youngest.
At that time. And they had groups of like 5 or 6 of us, families, couples. Of course, we're still friendly. We still speak, and we still met till recently, till COVID.
Till COVID, we were meeting once a month,
group.
Right? Different homes, once a month.
That's right.
With so many poignant, meaningful, and moving memories, it's difficult to pinpoint a favorite Ohav moment. I'll just relate a colorful, cozy story about an adventure at the Rocking Horse Ranch. After the usual dude ranch activities, a few of us 16-year-old boys and girls landed in the communal sauna, schwitzing and talking with a group of 12-year-old girls. One of them points to their host and says, "Do you know who the birthday girl is?" None of us had a clue. We had never heard of Brooke Shields. Without a pause, Brooke starts telling us all about her commercial shoots and this pretty baby movie she will be starring in. She proclaims to have no inhibitions, and the next thing we know, the bathing suit is off. 6 Ohav teens are looking at each other with embarrassment and some amusement. By the following year, the world is abuzz over Brooke Shields, and coincidentally, Ohav has brought in NCSY. No more cozy adventures and a lot more Shabbatons.
תודה לך, תודה לך, תודה לך, כלי, הולך איתך ורק איתך לא יפה. הכל בלי תודה לך על חושך ויאללה אור הטוב תודה לך אתה תמיד קרוב תודה לך על שמש בשמיים בכל יום על אהבה המלווה לכל מקום תודה לך על הניסים ויאללה טבע גם מודה אני מלך חי וקיים תודה תודה לך השם הלב דורש ומבקש על מה שיש לומר תודה 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 לך השם כל הנשמה תהלל קי וחכה רק לשיר תודה 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 לך השם הלב דורש ומבקש על מה שיש לומר תודה 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 לך השם כל הנשמה תהלל קי וחכה רק לשיר תודה
It's our second home.
That Ohav is my second home.
Ohav Sholom is my second home.
Ohav Sholom is our second home.
Ohav was my second home.
We have a congregational family here like no other.
I was the first full-time rabbi at the shul beginning in July of 1963. My wife and I determined that we would attempt to build an Orthodox Jewish community in suburbia. Hopefully, if we did not succeed within 2 years period of time, I would return to the legal profession from whence I came. And Baruch Hashem, thank God, it's now more than 60 years later, and I look back with great joy on the 47 years that I served as your rabbi. I want to pay tribute to our current spiritual leader and rabbi. I think that was one of the great turning points in the history of our shul when Rabbi Eben was designated as my successor, and with God's help, will continue to grow Mechayel El Choyel in the years to come.
חי וקיים טוב